Congratulations guys, you made it to our final part of our RPG Maker puzzle horror adventure that we are trying to create. And Subdogs, TheOdie here. And in the last part, we finished up the game. However, there's a little bit more we can do. We can add more, well, greater cosmetics to our games by adding in plugins and changing up our little script here and there. What I mean is that we're going to add in a flashlight plugin, as well as changing our key binding for our flashlight from page down to the letter F. And what we're going to do is change up our menu screen such that it's much more adequate for an RPG horror game. So I say, let's start with that. So if we were to open up our menu screen, this is what we would see and what we want to get rid of. If we go into items, we want to get rid of weapons, armor, and key items. Okay? If we go into, we want to get rid of skills altogether. We want to get rid of equip altogether, status, formation, and options. If you want to get rid of that, then you can. We're going to get rid of level, hero, and HP and MP. Okay? As well as this gold window. Maybe we'll keep HP. Yeah, we're part of it. Okay, so the only way to do that is by getting very complicated. And when I say complicated, I mean you would have to go to game, open folder. Here's our folder. Go into JS, go into plugins. Oh no, not plugins. Go into RPG Windows. Okay. So by nature, you cannot open up these JS files. We will need some sort of, I guess, console to open this up. And what I use is something called Atom. Now, if you would like it yourself, I'll link it down in the descriptions below. So when you open this up, this is what you're going to see. Just close out the welcome, close out the welcome guide, and then this is what it is. Okay. So I can completely understand that this looks absolutely confusing. And by all means, if you had no background in computer science, then this is just going to be like, what the heck am I looking at? But worry not, we're going to get through this together. So I will admit that I do not have actual JavaScript knowledge or background at all. However, I do have background in C, C++, Java, JavaScript, and Java is different, as well as Visual Basic. But then again, I did all of that a few years ago, and I, for the most part, forgotten the most of it, but I do at least have that sort of familiarity. So that is why I am able to read this and understand where to go from what position to where, okay? So for the most part, all you gotta know is that if you see something with brackets, that is known as a class. So if you see something such that as a dot and then something in front of it, that can be an action or a property of the thing before it. What before it is the object, okay? It's the main focus of what's going to be changing. Okay. So, if you see parentheses such as these and then things inside, those are called arguments. And when you pass to a class that requires arguments, such that if we could find an example, I probably won't be able to. If you were to see something like this and then in these parentheses before the bracket, those would be arguments. And they are required for you to pass something like this into these arguments. It's very confusing, and by all means, feel free to not pay attention to that. However, when it comes to wanting to edit this thing out, yes, you are going to require to at least have some computer science background at the very least. And then even if you do not have this language in particular, so JavaScript in particular, that's not in my vocabulary of languages, such that C and C++ or Visual Basics were in my vocabulary of languages, then fear not, it does not mean that this is something that's completely different, because regardless of what, all coding has a similar formation. It's read from top to bottom, it all has classes, it all has arguments, it all has properties and objects and etc. So, if you were to look over here, you would see the line number. And what I did to quickly find things is that I would use Control Find and find where it was, what exactly it was that I was looking for in the menu screen. And what I was looking for was, say, the gold. Then it would jump out and search for things that says gold. And then by reading this personally, I would have to figure it out for myself, which is the one that creates the gold window. And I already did this ahead of time. And because I do not actually have the JavaScript background knowledge, it did take me a little bit of trial and error before I actually found it. Okay? So instead, what I'm going to do is just in the descriptions below, and as I go through this video, I'll tell you which lines to pretty much essentially make null, or what we will say, comment out. Okay? So if you go over to line 589, you will see something that says this. And then as you can tell, this is already saying draw actor level. Well, we're going to get rid of that. Then we're also going to get rid of the class, as well as the HP and the NP. If you hit that, I believe that's /. If you hit the / twice, it's what JavaScript would call a comment. And comments in here is similar to that of RPG Maker. It's just meant for us. So whatever we comment out, it will no longer be processed by the program. So one way to think of this is that as JavaScript reads this, it will go down and down and down, and then when it sees comments, it will just skip that line entirely and go to the next one. Okay? That's one way to think about it. So, aside from that, we're going to remove a bunch of other things. And so next up, we're going to go to line 1582. So all the way down, 1582. And this here is where they add formation. Well, we're going to get rid of that. Original commands is if you knew how to use JavaScript and you added in your own menu commands such as items, skills, etc. Okay? Next up, we're going to go to 1596. And 1596 is actually where we have all of these. So we're going to go and get rid of skills, equips, and status. Next, we're going to get rid of gold, and that's actually back up top. So let's go to 1550, 1515-ish. And I believe this one's it. So comment this out. And 1533, because we don't want the currency to be drawn. So that'll get rid of the box and the value of gold, as well as that letter G. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to go to 1886-ish, where we're going to get rid of, in the items menu, the submenus of key items, armor, and etc. So 1886-ish right here. Okay, get rid of weapon, armor, and key. Okay, so Control S to save, and then close. Now, what we're gonna do next is check out our game to see if it worked. Control S to save, Control R to run. Continue. File 6. Okay, we messed up somewhere, so we actually gotta go back and see where it was that we messed up. And I actually know where we messed up, so let's go back down to the gold. 1515. And what we want to do is get rid of this, but change the variable height and width and set it to 0. And then hit space and get rid of that. Okay? We could get rid of that first, then hit 0. Either way works. Okay? So the reason for this is because other things will call this thing here, and it's meant to draw out the, well, the windows. And what this will do instead is make the window 0, 0, such that it has 0 width and 0 height, so when it gets drawn, nothing will appear. So we hit Control S, tab on over to our game, hit play, and check it out. Continue from the file beforehand. Escape, and there you go. Everything's all edited out. Got no gold down there. Have no gold. all the info's gone, and we got this simplistic looking window. Okay, now the next part that we want to do is figure out how to add plugins. And the two plugins I'm going to show you are Terex Lighting and ET Map Key. The first one we're going to use is ET Map Key. A link to the download will be in the descriptions below, so don't worry there. So the way you would put it is Game, Open Folder, go to JS, then Plugins, then you would save it in here. And then once you do save it in there, you're going to hit this little puzzle looking piece, and then double click a new line, and then look for it here, ET Map Key. Now if you were to hit help, it would actually tell you exactly what it does and how it works, what exactly you're supposed to enter. And well, this is what you enter. It's very as simple as that. Okay, so we're gonna leave this on false. Oopsies, we were supposed to hit OK. ET Map Key, okay, okay. Now if we double click this, go down to common events, look for a flashlight, and then we gotta edit this out. We're gonna hit space, go to for script, and then the command for it is input key triggered. So you can honestly copy and paste it there. And then we're gonna add in parentheses and then F. Because remember, when I talked about arguments, this is the argument. This is the letter that's gonna be toggled to be pressed. Okay, then okay, apply, okay, Control S, Control R. New, and continue, file 6. If we hit F, well, we can't run in this map, and you guys already knew that. So we're gonna have to go back here, and F. And there we have it, our flashlight. It works like a charm. Okay. Now, next part, which is slightly more complicated, it's the Terex Lighting flashlight plugin. Okay? Now, if you were to open this up, go and look for Terex, hit help, you'll be like, holy butt, I don't want to read all this. But unfortunately, you're going to have to read all that. If you want to use their plugin, really learn to dissect and understand their help, because this is them trying to tell you what it's used for and how it's made upon. Okay? So apply, okay. So now for this plugin, it's very tricky, honestly, like very, very tricky. So first of all, we're gonna have to decide when in the game does it turn to night, and then which event should we plug it into. And if you remember, this is outside in the front, where he comes, after he knocks on the door, he leaves, then comes back and it's nighttime. Well, we're now gonna have to use Terex Lighting. So, in order for this to work, we have to first enable the script. And to enable the script is whenever there's a note that has Terex Lighting's, well, note script. And his note script would be lights 100 hash number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 F's. Okay? Hit Alt and Enter. And the way you would know that is if you double click here, go into here and see this. In the note field next to the name, put the following text. Bam. And it even describes to you what each parameter stands for, as well as how to use a flashlight, how to use a lantern, flickering lights, etc. and etc. Okay, now before we actually say, hey, we're done here, well, we're not. And the reason for that is because when we first enter on this map, it's daytime. And if we have this lighting effect already, then it will look like it's nighttime. And we don't want that. And just to prove it to you, Control S, Control R. Oh, I have to play through all the way to then. God, that's a pain. Or maybe I have a little save file somewhere. There we go. See? So it's daytime, and this is what it looks like. It's super awkward, it's super weird, and it just doesn't make sense. So we're gonna have to start off by disabling it and enabling it once it becomes nighttime. So what you would do is go to page 3, plugin command, and then type this exactly. Note that it is case sensitive, okay? So make sure that there's even a space in it too. The L is capital, D is lowercase. Then we're going to control copy, hit OK, go to our door, and remember when it turns into nighttime. And it turns into nighttime right here. We're going to hit space here, change this from deactivate to activate. So now what we want to do is actually alter the radius of the light for the player. So we're going to type in light radius, we'll have it at 1000, hashtags and 4 Fs, all capital. Okay, it's as simple as that. Hit apply, scroll to the bottom. Now with the tint screen, we actually want to leave it there. And the reason for that is because, remember, all this plugin does is create that little shadow around the player. But we still need to show that it's nighttime. And if you remembered, when we actually ran it, it still looked like daytime, but all we had was a silhouette. And we don't want that, okay? We want it to actually look like nighttime. So we're going to save that tint there. And now we're going to move on to the next map. This map is also during the nighttime. And what we're going to do from this point on is create a note to signify that this map will contain this plugin as well. Okay, so we're going to type in light 0 because we want the radius of this event's light to be 0. Hashtag 123 123. And there you have it. Very simple. Done just like that. So what else will have it? Well, the shed should have it as well. So we're gonna double click here. It could honestly be anywhere on the map. You could even make a new one and have it there. And just call this for light. And light 0 123 123. Okay. Control S to save. Now we're gonna go into our basement and do that there as well. Except with the basement, things are going to be a little bit tricky because this is where we add our flashlight. Or for now, just put in this code here. Now we're going to scroll down and look for where we turn on our flashlight. And that's going to be right here. So at this point, we're going to put in a plugin. And the plugin will be light flashlight on 1013. Hashtag 123 123. Okay, so 10 is the width and 13 is the length of it. And now we also want to change the flash for our player, the radius of the light of our player, and that's going to be light radius 100. Hashtag 123 123. And the reason for that is because the radius of our light right now is humongous. It was 1000, but we're bringing it back down to 100. And now I understand what you're thinking. But TheOdie, what about when you enter this map? Wouldn't it have that giant radius because we didn't change it yet? Well, guess what? Remember, from this point onwards, all the way up to where we implement this, the screen is practically pitch dark, so the player won't be able to tell, okay? So that's why it's totally fine to put it here as opposed to all the way up there or making it 0 and then bringing it out to 100. Okay, so now we're into the basement and just gotta go through this cutscene. Realize that you can see just a very little fractional bit because the radius is still at 1000 and then it shrinks down to 100. And now we see with the flashlight on, and this is what it looks like. Pretty nifty, right? Doesn't it look a lot better versus just tinting the screen? I think so. If not, then feel free to not include it at all. It does make the puzzle a little bit harder too, just because it limits your visibility. And I just want to jump over. Okay, that was fun. Okay. Let's now go into our database and check out flashlight. So in addition to our tinting of the screen, what we're going to do is just include our plugins, those 2 commands. And which 2 commands were they? Do you guys remember? Well, it's very simple. So remember, this is when the flashlight is currently off and is being turned on. And now when the flashlight is currently on and we want to turn it off. So remember that this is the dependence on which map we're on. And the assumptions that we're not on that map and we're in the basement, but not in the map where we get chased by Jake, this is what we'll have. But on the map that we will be chased by Jake, we're going to change this to 0. Apply. That way, this map is pitch black when we turn off the flashlight, and this one we can see just within that 100 radius. Okay, now we just copy this because we have one more thing we need to fix. When we go back to the outside back, remember that he has to backtrack back into the shed, and if he were to leave from this map into this map, it will have that 100 radius as opposed to the 1000 that it used to be. So what we're going to do is go to page 2 of this one, because remember this one controls all the tinting, and we're going to paste it here. We're going to change the 100 to 1000. Copy and paste it there as well. Apply, OK, save, and then test it out. So now let's head up top, see if it changes. Okay, we still got our flashlight that's on, and that's awkward. So now what we want to do is whenever he goes onto this map, we want to turn off that flashlight. And also notice that we can also trigger our flashlight on and off from the screen, which is also something that's messed up. So we're going to have to fix that as well. So if we go into basement, double click this, we're going to have to ensure that we turn off the flashlight able. So up top here, conditional branch, nope, control switches, flashlight able, off. We also want to manually turn off our flashlight. So flashlight off, apply, as well as do this for the plugin. Flashlight is off. Apply, OK, Control S, Control R. And now, if we try it out, ta-da, the flashlight is off. And now, let's start with the flashlight. And now we cannot use our flashlight. So, once we go back into this map from back here, we now have to enable the flashlight. So, conditional branch right here. Check to see if player has entered the cellar yet. If he has, then control switch, flashlight able, on. Control S, Control R. So we can't toggle the flashlight, and we can toggle the flashlight. Now let's start with off and head back up. Try flashing the lights, doesn't work. Go in here, try flashing the light, also does not work. So far everything's checking off okay. Now let's continue our game to the very end. Remember, if you hit control and walk on over, you could phase through walls. Just for testing purposes only, it only works in the test editor, not when you actually publish the game. We'll go ahead in here and attempt to toggle the flashlight. And we can't toggle the flashlight, okay? So we're gonna go back here, make sure that we can. Okay, that works out. Okay. Okay, now if we go to the final chase scene, remember that we forgot to put in our code, so we're gonna have to put that in there. Go to basement, just control copy, paste it over. Control S to save, Control R to run. Continue. And then our last part, where it should already be set. Just cut all this cutscene. Cut all the cutscene. Skip all the cutscene. F, yeah, and there it goes, it works. And now it's now substantially more difficult for the player. Did I die yet? Ah. And now I died. And I can't flash my light as a dead person. Alrighty. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So there you guys have it. You have all of these features, and now let's say you want to have an auto-saving feature. So an autosave is actually really simple, but it requires scripting. So let's go here, and I'm just going to create a little space in between just for the heck of it so I can find it easier. We're going to create a common event and call it autosave. Ready? Now let's have it such that we also have a variable, and we're going to call this autosave. When it equals 1, it'll automatically save. When it equals 2, we can actually jump to a load save, and when it equals 3, we can delete that save. Okay, so in the condition of 1, so sorry, I actually meant conditional branch, variable, autosave. When it equals 1, and remember that this is going to be an else branch, so let's might as well copy and paste it over, and then yeah, we'll stop there. So we'll edit this to 2 actually. Okay, are you guys following? Okay, so if autosave is 1, then we're going to automatically save the game. What is it going to look like? Well, go to script, hit money sign, lowercase game, capital V for, capital S for system. Then we're going to go dot on before save, and then data manager dot save capital G game, and then that's the slot. Okay, that's all it looks like. Very simple. Now let's just add a comment that tells us that this is saving the game, this one will be loading, and this one will be deleting. Okay, now load is a lot more complicated, and it's gonna look ginormous. Okay, that's what it looks like. I just copy and pasted it over. Feel free to pause the game here so you can type it all out. Okay, so there you go. If you want it in scripted form, but if you want it as is, okay, just type it exactly you see it. As for the spaces, you don't have to put the spaces, but I would recommend it just so your eyes can follow it easier. Okay, okay. Now for deleting game, all it is that. Even more simpler. So it goes from simple, crazy, super simple. Okay, so the 1 that you see in these tells us where or which save slot we're gonna auto save to, auto load, or delete from. And then all we have to do is say we want to auto save it here after the crazy dialogue stuff. So where do we see it? 7 location transfer Jake right here. Okay, so we'll put it here just so that the player gets a little bit of a warning that it's about to begin. Okay, so we're gonna hit up autosave. It's a common event, autosave, and since we're saving, we're gonna go to variable and change it to 1. So now it knows that we're going to be auto-saving. It's going to auto-save, and it's going to auto-save in slot 1. So let's test and try that out. Okay, so now if we want to test it, we actually have to go not to where the chasing dialogue already happened and then it asks us to save and then etc, etc. We actually have to go beforehand so we can enable the event again. Oopsie, sorry. So we actually gotta go beforehand so we enable the event just because the event has been altered. So if we go here, 11136. Fast forward all the way to the end. Okay, we're just about there. Save it over 7. It's gonna do a little bit of dialogue and then it should autosave. And let's get ourselves killed so that we can test out if it's saved or not. Game over. Continue. And there we go. It autosaved on file 1. Now, next question is, can you change the name of file 1 to the word autosave? That way the player will know that file 1 is autosave, and you don't have to tell them at the very beginning. Yes, you can. And the way you would do that is go back into game, open folder, JS. Yep, the scary stuff. Windows. Wait for it to load. Oh wow, that was fast. And then we're actually gonna go down to 2834. 2834. Where are you? Right here. Where are you? Then we're gonna have to actually enter our own little bit of code, okay? But do not worry, it's not scary, because this is what it will look like. Type in if id equals 1, then it's gonna say autosave. Otherwise, this draw text manager.file plus space single colon space single colon plus id minus 1 x y and 180. So what this will say is that file 1, because id 1, will be called autosave, while the others will be called save file space 1, 2, 3, and etc. Okay? So pause it here, write it all out, and then we will Control S, Control R to test it out. So now, as you can see, it says autosave. There we go. And now we're totally complete with our game. So we did it, you guys. We made our own game from start to finish. We learned the events, did the puzzling, and then the scripting in this video. And I understand that this video was probably the most difficult of all of them in the series. However, don't feel the need that you have to jump straight into this part. Learn the basics first before going advanced. It's okay if your games are, well, I guess you would say newbie or noobish, but hey, you're learning. And we YouTubers who let's play these games will understand and know that it's your first game. And as long as we see effort where you try to fix your bugs, then we'll play it. So thank you guys for joining me on this series, but hey, just check out the next video for the outro and I'll sum everything up, okay? So till then guys, I'll see you later. Keep RPGing, or maybe you're done. See you in the next part. Of all these many different horror games, a lot of them do chase sequences, so make yours different, make yours stand out, make yours that follow along the lines of your game properly. Alrighty? Then past that, we ended our game, we had to sum it up in some way, some manner, and